Morgen. Ich spreche nicht gut Deutsch, so I will switch to English. But I will tell everybody back home that I give part of my speech in German, so I'm very excited. So I'll tell you a little bit of my background so that we can go through what is Más Colonia. I don't have the switcher. Is it this one? Do you have the... there you go. Thank you. Thanks. So my background is on the logistics sector. I founded a company that is now leading company in Argentina in warehousing and one of the leading companies in Latin America. And what was very interesting when we started this company with my partner from the US is that we found out that Argentina had done nothing in terms of logistics infrastructure for like 20 or 30 years. So we could capitalize on that and try to find which were the latest trends in logistics so that we could basically design these very modern and innovative logistic parks that we have built, 8 over the last 15 years. We always said we had the glasses of the future, because the opportunity of Argentina being so behind in terms of logistics infrastructure is that in a way we could start with the best. And this has really been incredible for the growth of Plaza Logistica and for the business model of Plaza Logistica. And the big innovation in Plaza is that we basically could acquire large parcels of land with a certain size, not too big, not too small. And we have these very synergical logistic parks where we have these hubs. A lot of our clients are operating together and creating synergies amongst them. These are what we typically call the logistic hubs. At some point in the past, like 5-6 years ago, I was thinking how the same concept was needed within the innovation sectors. Latin America does not have like a Silicon Valley style synergical hub where companies, tech companies, entrepreneurs, startups, universities are close to each other in order to promote and create this kind of synergies. So I said we should do the same. We should do the same that we did with Plaza Logistica. We should do it on the tech, startup, innovation, service sectors. But when we started, we found huge challenges, and that is, I don't want to spoil, this is part of how we ended up creating a new city, what we call a city of the future. So, there you go.
Very close to Buenos Aires, in Colonia del Sacramento, Más Colonia is born, a city with an extraordinary view. A view not only of the immensity of the Rio de la Plata, but also a view of the future. A view of the opportunity of being a part of something new, disruptive, and unprecedented. A city for those who dare to challenge the known. Entrepreneurs, scientists, academics, founders of top tech and data companies. And also for the nonconformists, the dreamers, the brave, the forward thinkers. Those are the ones who will bring Más Colonia to life. And Más Colonia will bring life to them all. A new way of living in connection with nature. In a natural paradise with 7 kilometers of beaches, forests, dunes, lakes, and lagoons. A city that will redefine how to work, live, and enjoy at the same time and in the same space. A city to be connected to everything, and also to disconnect from everything. A city that provokes you and awakens you. An invitation to the life you want to have. Now you can. Más Colonia is coming. A smart city that will mark a before and after in history. A smart city that will show that the best city to inhabit, work, enjoy, grow, and achieve happiness is right here in the south of Latin America. A A smart city that will prove that the future is not written, and for us is to write it together. Are you ready? Mas Colonia, city with a view of the future.
So what is the big challenge that we faced at that time? Basically, and this was something that really precipitated with the pandemic, when we started talking with companies, trying to invite them to create this incredible Latin American hub where they could be close to each other, create synergies, create all this synergical productivity among them, we found out that these companies were not even able to keep their own selves together. No, what happened particularly with pandemic, is that the remote work made companies start to, in a way, disintegrate, in the sense that they started losing culture, sense of belonging, a lot of the things that typically happened in a company. I used to work in a brewery company, and when I went to work, part of my belonging to that community was the ride to office, the being in the office space, making friends, and a lot of that culture, a lot of that sense of belonging was lost over the last years. So at first, this was a huge frustration for me, because I said, like, if a company cannot remain stuck by itself, we cannot. It's even more and more challenging to bring them all together. No? But then we started finding this incredible opportunity below that huge challenge, that is the need for companies to recover that sense of community, brings companies back again to get involved in not only the office space, the working space, but also in a lot of the other elements of life. No? And remember, in the past, a lot of companies typically even urbanized for their own employees. We have plenty of cases in Germany, in Argentina, in Uruguay, in the United States, in every country. And that almost didn't happen over the last 50 years, because service companies didn't require that. Service companies could open a big office in a big city, and that was it. It didn't need to get involved in a lot of the other solutions of life for their own employees. And what is interesting is that the new districts, the new urbanizations or districts that companies are starting to think of, and we're working on several projects together with companies, have to do with this concept. No? Companies, again, inviting their own employees, their own communities, to a broader invitation. Not only a place to work and a space to work, but in a broader sense, inviting them to be a part of a community, to live, work, learn, and enjoy. We are great believers on this new concept of district growing and growing all around the world, and we think that this is only the beginning point. No? There's a lot more to be evolved within the companies getting again involved with the development of districts. And if districts are the offices of the future, then an innovation hub of the future is a city of districts, an urbanization of districts. And this is Mas Colonia. Mas Colonia is starting to develop. We are on the early stages. We are building our first district, and our dream, our concept is that Mas Colonia will be developed within different type of districts. Corporate districts for companies that are large enough to have their own district, or to articulate their own district. They don't need to be owners. They don't need to be exclusive. But yes, the need for companies is that their own employees live closer to each other. That's the goal. We need our communities to live closer to each other on new and modern city styles. We will have sectorial districts where we can combine sectors and smaller and medium-sized companies that can get together in biotech district, fintech district, crypto district, quantum district, some of the ones we're working on. So and why Colonia? Colonia is a very interesting city. This is a very small city, very touristic, only 30,000 inhabitants, but it has two very significant particularities. The first is how close it is, and with an incredible interconnection with the heart of Buenos Aires City. So Buenos Aires City in Argentina is one of the largest cities in the world with 15 million inhabitants, and only less than an hour in ferry with 16 daily frequencies, you can travel between Buenos Aires and Colonia. The port of Colonia has become the entrance to Uruguay. This is why, even Colonia being so small, only 30,000 inhabitants, it has such an incredible infrastructure of interconnection with the city of Buenos Aires. So why Colonia? Because it is part of the suburbs of Buenos Aires. Being so close to the heart of Buenos Aires, it is even closer to the heart of Buenos Aires, the center of Buenos Aires, than many of Buenos Aires suburbs. With traffic, you can take 2 hours to get from Pilar, from Escobar, from Quilmes to the downtown in Buenos Aires. Then the natural space. Now we have incredible beaches, lakes. The place is really spectacular and has a lot of added value in terms of the natural landscape. But also, there's a huge opportunity for us in Colonia being sitting in a different country. Colonia is in Uruguay. Uruguay is the most stable country in the world. It has huge financial markets, capital markets. It has mortgages. In Argentina, we didn't have long-term debt since the early 1990s. Also, to have access to credit gives a lot of accessibility to the young and to many more to be able to access a property in Colonia. This is the total landscape, in total 520 hectares. Phase 1, which is the first, I would say, at least 10 years of development, adds up to 200 hectares, where we have all the urban permits to develop all these 200 hectares, where more than 8,000 properties will be built in those 200 hectares, and then the expansion of the city will be on these 315 hectares where we don't have a project yet. We were trying to figure out what we were going to do there, and someone told us, like, how is it that you have everything figured out in the city of the future? And then we said, no, this is the park of the future. So we don't know yet what will happen on this 315 hectares. The property goes from the port, neighboring the current city of Colonia, to the airport. No? So we have connectivity on both sides with the city of Buenos Aires and also with the city of Montevideo and with other cities of the region. You can see here, this is a little bit of the render of the whole city. This is typically a medium-sized city, like 70% of the surface of those 200 hectares are more like medium-sized, 4 or 5-story buildings. And then you have 3 urban nucleus where we go high density up to 12 or 13-story buildings. There's where we would have the life of the city, the supermarkets, the office space, etc. You have First nucleus, which we are already developing, is over here. Second nucleus is going to be over here, closer to the existing city of Colonia. And then a third nucleus is planned over here. No? So wherever you live in Colonia, you will have nearby an urban nucleus. The urban design, I like this very much, has, in a way, mixes the most modern elements of urbanism, and it's called, or we call it, the urban cells or urban stones. This is, I like to say, this is basically designing a city the other way you typically design cities, because cities were designed in a more chaotic way. I like very much, Stefan showed this image from Barcelona, where you could see the more chaotic part in the beginning and early stages of Barcelona, and then a little bit of the attempt to plan the expansion of the city. And urbanizers will insert parks so that people have nearby somewhere to go to nature and spend time with the kids and the families. Well, this is the opposite. So what we do with the urban cells is we grab all the nature, the landscape, and we insert the only places where we will urbanize with this beautiful frontal park, which connects with this like central park, which is called Parque Arroyo la Caballada. Here we have an ancient mill, 500 years old, the first in South America, so we will put that in value. And the urban cells basically put boundaries to where we urbanize. All the rest is an interconnected park that connects the whole city. So wherever I live in Colonia, I will be living over a park. And through that park, I will be able to connect in bicycle or as a pedestrian with all the city, with the beaches, with the lakes, or with any other place in the city. No? So most of the mobility of the city, I will be able to choose whether to do it as a pedestrian, or in bike, or in car. Within these cells, we tend to densify, no? To create the 15-minute city concept, that is that I need to have close by most of the things I will need to do in my life, no? Kids going to school, or going to the office, or supermarket, etc. So, what are the plan's dimensions? And we are making a lot of progress on this. Our pace of development right now, already almost 500 apartments on construction, plus office space, gyms. We have a school confirmed to start in 2027. We have supermarkets, stores. Everything is moving on space. Our goals are to double the population of Colonia. Colonia, although it's a very touristic city, receiving 1 million tourists a year, it doesn't have a huge population, and it hasn't grown over the last 50 or 60 years, creating 6,000 new jobs with approximately 2 billion investment in this first phase, the construction of 8,000 new homes, and more than 100 new companies establishing in Colonia. I told you a little bit about Uruguay. Uruguay is really impressive in terms of the position they have in terms of the democracy, the corruption, civil liberties, rule of law. They lead almost every single index in terms of their comparison with the other countries in Latin America, which is probably even more impressive, is their role in renewable energy. Last year, Uruguay had 99% of renewable energy as a source in their web. Now, this is really impressive. It's number one in the world, and I think it doubles the second country in the world. So it's a rare avis in Latin America. Still very small. Uruguay has only 3.5 million inhabitants. Argentina has near 50 million. No? So very small, but an example for all of us in Latin America. So what are the key project features. No? How is it that we create a city of the future? How is it that we create a smart city? And everything has to do with a human-centric perspective. No? What we want for Colonia is a city that is sustainable, that lasts forever, that takes care of nature because it benefits from nature and the relationship between citizenship and nature, and using technology as a tool. No? Technology is our great support, and it's changing so fast that we need to be running behind it, but it's a great support for us to create the best city in the world to live. That's our goal. We are focused on the Más Colono, as we call our citizens, and all what we do is focused on them. And what Uruguay brings to the table is the opportunity to embrace all the world for Más Colonia. So all of Uruguay government is supporting on the national and local level this project to make Más Colonia the best smart city in Latin America. And this is so important for us, no? To be able to pick the phone and have the president there completely aligned and pushing for this project to move forward. No? Our partnership with Fraunhofer. So while starting, Más Colonia is a startup. Companies are like kids. No? They start growing. They take a lot of time in the early beginning. Then they start having troubles and they become teenagers. And at some point, like Plaza Logistica, they leave home, hopefully they do everything well, and it's like you just don't need to mess it up. No? Well, Más Colonia is probably a teenager now, and on these phases of growth, the big challenge we've been facing as we grew very fast were to create all this ecosystem required for a new city to be born on the right way. Creating consensus with all the political parties, with the legislative power of Colonia, with the executive power of Colonia, and each one of its directors and executives, officers, with the national government, with the private sector, with the banking sector, so Fraunhofer's experience in dealing with many of these projects in the world, with the additional challenge of everything changing so much, is being of great help. Is Stefan and Mike, part of the Fraunhofer team, who are helping us on consolidating all this ecosystem that goes from the public utilities. Uruguay has only public utilities. The three companies that do the sewage, the water, the electricity, the connectivity, the three of them are completely engaged. They sign contract with us, they are engaged with the project, and they are aligned in the goal to create in Más Colonia the best smart city in Latin America. The urban planning, architecture firms, research centers, what I said, tech companies on different sectors, on mobility, on sustainability, on finance, that are co-creating the city together with us. Well, sports, wellness, connectivity, very important. The connectivity, well, mobility in general terms, but connectivity with the city of Buenos Aires in particular terms. So, the concept of what we are looking at in Más Colonia is that cities, new cities, and cities in general, together with companies, are now competing for talent in a open world. No? So this is a little bit of what we are believing the big challenge for us, and also for companies, partners, and sectors, is for the future. But also the big opportunity, no? Because the lack of presence in the office space, which in a way is competing with the commute, because the cost for talent to meet each other, the cost to go to an office space, the cost to meet in a real space physically, is the commute. Now that is our big challenge. So if we invite by new developments, by special developments, attractive developments, livable developments. We invite all these ecosystems, all these communities to live closer to each other, then I believe we won. No? This is the big challenge we are facing, and this is the vision we have for the future in Colonia. So thank you very much, and open to any additional question, or invite you also to be part of this beautiful dream.
Thank you so much, Eduardo. You bring a world from another country to Germany today, and I'm so excited to see how it grows in the next years. I'm so excited. If I imagine, like 25 years from now, I will be a very old woman, like 70 years old. What is your vision from a user experience perspective? When I travel to visit you in 25 years and we meet in Colonia, what will be really different for me in my experience compared to today in Stuttgart?
That is a very good question, because we many times say Colonia is a city for the young.
Oh, okay, I stay. I stay in Stuttgart.
But then we clarify, for the young of all ages, because Colonia is a city that provokes and invites for whoever is looking to the future. No? We have youngs of 80 years old. My father is 94 years old, and he's really young in terms of his willingness to look forward, no? His willingness to be active, his role in the society as a mentor. No? We never talk in Colonia about senior living projects or gray economy projects. We talk about mentors, no? The role in an active entrepreneurial city that is looking to the future. No? And that's the proposition. So I'm sure that in 25 years you will still have space and room in Colonia to come and live.
That's good to hear. Great. Is there any question in the audience? I think we would have 1 or 2 minutes of time. It's your chance now to talk to Eduardo.
So what kind of programs do you have in place to attract companies?
So the first thing we do when we start talking with a company is, if they have not seen this problem yet, because many companies up to now, in order to compete with a commute, they have improved the office experience. So yoga, place, massage, after office, car simulators, games, tennis paddle, music. So improve. It's the way to compete against the cost of the young, particularly, but everybody, to go to the office every day. And what we tell them is, first, you need to change that vision. Stop competing against commute. Benefit out of commute. Invite them to live closer to each other in the same city where they're living. You're not inviting them to move, as old companies typically had to do. You're inviting them to move within Stuttgart. Instead of living in this neighborhood, you can live in this neighborhood, beautiful new neighborhood, and you will be closer to each other and create this synergy and community. So what we typically do with companies is we get inside the company, we build an action plan to offer their own employees this new, attractive idea, crazy idea of moving part of the team, that doesn't need to be all of the team, of course, to a new development. No? So that's the key. And one of the things we tell the company is, you don't have to put a penny And that's like, they open their eyes, because up to at that time in the conversation, they're thinking that you're going to ask for money and for them to invest, and you say, no, no, no. What we will create is the community effect. So you will buy your apartment because he's buying, and he will buy because she's buying, and everybody will be buying. So that's the idea. We create the community effect, which is what we want to recover. So that's the way we are working out this plan. Same wise with the sectors. So we go to the lab farm chamber, to the biotech chamber in the region. We contact international pharmaceutical companies. We bring them together. We start entering each one of these companies and offering them this idea to move to this beautiful new district in a new city, in the case of Colonia, because we also have that benefit, that we are on this such a beautiful place, access to credit to acquire your unit. Together with the unit, we give you between 460 and 1,200 tickets, no charge, to connect between Colonia and Buenos Aires. So you have 7 years to move throughout both cities every week at zero cost. So all these things are to an invitation for the demand to be already ratifying a lot of the concepts that we are proposing in our project.
Thank you, Eduardo. I have still a lot of questions. Yes? Yeah.
And what part do the SDGs play in the design of the city?
The Sustainable Development Goals.
Okay. So yeah, so we have identified the ones that have more to do with us, considering the context. We are in a country that has 99% of renewable energy by source, so we don't need to be implementing renewable energy. But we are also in a country that has trouble with water, so we are implementing more solutions in terms of water. So we are doing it considering the context, particularly in Uruguay and the region where we are.
I skipped my questions now. We will see you on stage for the panel discussion in a few minutes. So
Okay.
Thank you for now,
Thank you.
Eduardo. I take this. Thank you very much. Eduardo Bastitta.